Hey everyone, Dr. Talley here again with Spero CBD. So this episode we're going to be taking a look at full spectrum versus broad spectrum CBD. So jumping right in, what does full spectrum CBD actually mean? So full spectrum CBD is going to include numerous amounts of different cannabinoids as well as THC. These other less understood cannabinoids include CBG, CBN, THCA, CBC, THCV, cbdV, as well as delta 8 THC. Now, these are all ones that are still under extensive areas of research that we know far less about than we do CBD and THC. And these are all things that scientists are currently looking at to see how well they work together and if they work better in unison to deliver the specific effects. So today, as well as throughout our series, we're mostly going to be focusing on mainly CBD, and we'll touch on THC occasionally just because these are the compounds we know the most about. So I kind of touched on it already. Full spectrum CBD is going to contain all of the cannabinoids you'll find in the cannabis plant, including THC. In order for a CBD product to be sold in the United States as full spectrum CBD, it has to contain less than 0.3% THC by law. If you live in a state where medical and or recreational marijuana use are available, then the product might contain higher amounts than that. So what does full spectrum CBD do? So this allows the consumer to try and have an introduction to the hemp plant without having profound psychoactive sensations. There's no substantial evidence right now that the full spectrum CBD products are better than regular hemp-derived CBD oil products. So then you might be asking yourself, what is broad spectrum CBD? It's essentially the same as full spectrum CBD in terms of all of the cannabinoids are there, except the THC has been removed from the product. So if you want to know the difference, the main thing to do is check the packaging so that you can feel rest assured that your product has what you're intending for it to have in there in terms of the CBD and THC. It's vital for you to be aware of this so that you can make a strong buying decision and do your own due diligence researching your products before you make a purchase. Why is broad spectrum CBD different from full spectrum CBD? We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. From a legal standpoint, the full spectrum is going to have up to the 0.3% THC. However, it remains to be seen whether that small amount of THC really has an appreciable effect on the body or beneficial effect on your body alongside the other CBD and cannabinoids. So at this time, we don't really know. The THC levels in these full spectrum products aren't enough to actually get you high, but it is something that is still has THC present in the product. And while the legal limit's 0.3%, there are products out there that have been found to have higher limits than that. So you have to be cautious, particularly individuals who have exposure to careers that have drug testing. So which one is better, full spectrum or broad spectrum? So we've kind of hinted on the fact that we don't know a lot about that small amount of THC in the full spectrum products. So for the most part, to our knowledge at this time, they're pretty similar in terms of benefits. Now, for those that are very concerned about having any THC in their system, you should probably lean more towards broad spectrum CBD products instead of your full spectrum to make sure that you're avoiding THC if you don't want that in your system. And you should always be highly critical of information that you read online regarding CBD, as there's a lot of misinformation out there. And make sure that if you are doing your own research, you're trying to confirm that by using a range of different sources and trying to find common themes within those. That way you can feel more assured that you're getting the truth if multiple sources are telling you something regarding CBD. Now, we've talked about it a little bit, but will full spectrum CBD oil make you high? If it's following the legal guidelines of having 0.3% THC, it's extremely unlikely to cause any high sensation or euphoria. Now, if you do live in a state where there's recreational marijuana, the CBD product might actually have higher than 0.3%, so you should always check your packaging. And if you live in a state without recreational marijuana being legal, you should be very adept at knowing your local as well as state laws and regulations to understand what you're allowed to and not allowed to have. And when you're purchasing full spectrum CBD oil products, you should always check the packaging and check with the manufacturer before purchasing. So the next question we have is, how do you know if your CBD is full spectrum? We kind of touched on that. Look at the packaging, talk to the seller or manufacturer. The ones that are very transparent, they very clearly label their products. You should be able to see how much THC is in there, and then the premium providers for CBD will allow you to have access to internal as well as third-party testing of their products. They'll show the amount of CBD to make sure you're getting what you're actually paying for in terms of the amount of CBD, and also whether or not the THC is in their product or not. If they're full spectrum, you should likely see that they do have some THC. If they're broad spectrum, they should be able to show you documentation that their product is completely THC free. All right, so now we're gonna look at, is full spectrum better than isolate CBD? We talked a little bit about it earlier, that we don't have a lot of information on whether that added THC in such a small amount has any real benefit to you. The only thing we can say is that if you really want CBD for the benefits that it gives you, then you have peace of mind knowing that your product is truly THC free. Now, there might be people out there that have the small amounts of THC and they notice a benefit, and I do know that I've had people reach out to me from states where recreational marijuana use or even medicinal marijuana use is legal, and those that have a 1-to-1 ratio of THC to CBD, now they might have a little added benefit because the THC is at a much higher dosage. But for those looking to get away from the psychoactive, euphoric, or high sensation of THC, leaning more towards your CBD broad spectrum type product that's going to have no amounts of THC detected in that. So you should still get all the benefits from the CBD product without having to worry about THC. Now, as a consumer, you always have a wide variety of selections out there, and if you're ever skeptical of a certain product or something hasn't been working for you despite changing dosages and the amount of time you've been on it for a couple of weeks, you can always try another product, or in the very rare occasion, CBD just might not be for you. Unfortunately, that could be the case. So then who can buy broad spectrum and full spectrum CBD products? So the main thing here is going to be legality in your state. If you're in a state that allows recreational or medicinal marijuana, you'll be able to get access to both products, and even products with higher amounts of THC than the legal limit. With that being said, people all across the country should be able to get access to both full spectrum and broad spectrum CBD, because the full spectrum has lower than the legal limit of THC, being less than 0.3%. And also anybody can get broad spectrum because it's essentially only CBD and there's no appreciable amounts of THC on any testing. All right, so I'm scrolling through here. I don't see any questions on here for now. I want to wave back to everybody that's jumped on here with me. Glad that you guys could make it out. Hopefully you got some great information. Also, feel free to visit our website, sperocbd.com, for more educational content regarding CBD, as well as take a look at premium CBD products. Thank you for joining me today. I'm happy to answer any questions if I see any pop up here soon. Also, please feel free to join us back in about 2 weeks when we'll be live again. Doing one more scroll through here. Again, waving to everybody. Thanks for jumping on here. I don't see any real added questions. Feel free to add a comment at a later time and we'll try and get back to you, or reach out to us through the website or on our Instagram page. So thanks for joining me today, and stay healthy and safe.